What's good, people? This is your boy Manny Scribble. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for being here. And before we get into this video, I'd like to ask you to go and hit that like and subscribe button and hit that bell notification icon so it can notify you anytime I drop some of that new note. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes, leave those in the comment box below. I will be reading them. A big shout out to my brother Circus. He's the one that did the beats in the background. So if you need beats for your project, go ahead and give him a holler. I'll leave all his information in the description box below. Now let's get into this video. What I got going today is I'm doing a portrait of my boy Switch Stacks, one of the dopest barbers I know. Like any other project I do, I'm gonna start off with the outline. For this one, I'm using a 3-point outline with my pressure sensitivity on. This means the line's gonna go from thin to thick depending on how much pressure I put on the pen. You can always mess around with this to see what suits your project best. Now let's move on to his tattoos. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the same exact settings as I did for the outline with one difference. I'm gonna use gray instead of black. The reason I do this is it makes his tattoos look a little more subtle and doesn't take away from the whole piece itself, at least in my opinion. Now I'm gonna use the pen tool to fill in all the base colors. You may be asking, how do I pick my base colors? Easy. I simply grab my eyedropper and select a color from the actual picture. A good mid-tone, not too dark, not too light, and voila. Now I'm gonna use my gradient tool to fade some of my shadows into my base color. This will give me my first layer of shadows. After this, I'm gonna do the same thing with a darker tone. keep adding layers of shadows until I feel comfortable with it. But the darker I go, the less area I'm covering, and the smaller my line work is getting. On my eyes, I like to use 3 shades of color. The darkest would be on the top of the pupil where the eyelid will cause a shadow. Then I slightly get lighter as I go down. Once I'm doing the 3 layers, I like to put another layer on top of my line work. And this is where I'll add the reflection of the light in the eyes. This is my favorite part because it really makes the eyes come to life. I'll add a couple more specks of white on top of the lips as well, sometimes on the tip of the nose. This is where the light's gonna hit the harshest. Don't do too much because you can easily overdo it. Now, I'm gonna go put the highlights in the skin. I'm gonna select my base color and make the color slightly lighter. And just like my shadows, I'm gonna use my gradients to blend them in a little better. After that, I'm gonna use the same process that I used on the highlights and the shadows on the t-shirt. Now for the hair. What I'm gonna do for the hair is, because he has jet black hair, I'm gonna use my brush tool, and as my fill color, I'm gonna use a gradient. I'm gonna set my gradient settings to transparent, white, then transparent. That way it'll blend in and blend out, and just leave me with a middle section to blend smoothly. At this point, the vector's just about done. I'm gonna grab it from here and I'm gonna throw it into Photoshop. Photoshop is where I'll do the backgrounds, highlights, photo filters, and any other small effects that I may need to make it come together a little better. Once I got all that out of the way, it's my finished product. Again, thank you guys for joining me. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes, leave them in the comments below. I will be reading them. Until next time, deuces.